闇の時代を告げる彼が遠くなり響く戦うと思うよ今君は死も恐れず瓦礫の街を染めて沈む勇気はくれない愛する星の未来を守るためもう神の刃は人の愛祈りも込めて貫け立ち上がれ気高く前定めを受け出せんしよたとえ傷ついて力尽きても赤く燃え見事に散って星になった命を時を超えその名前を胸に刻もう Just forever
How's it going, guys? Welcome to TheBlueShifting, and welcome to me setting all my settings while I am doing this. Trust me, this has been a bit of a nightmare, but I like the new way we're going to be trying to lay out these rap parties, and I'm hoping that we're going to be able to have a really fun one this today. I've got my pictures playing in the background. I do not have my face cam, and I believe that that's because it's been causing interference with my streaming strength. So I'd rather you guys be able to hear me than see my face, because, you know, I mean, you get that ugly mug enough, I bet. Thank you so much for those of you who are joining us, and for those of you who are watching in the future, whenever that is. Thank you so much for being here, and we will get kicking this off pretty soon. This is going to be the most active rap party we've had up till now. We've got 5 people who have really wanted to join us, and they're going to be talking to us each for a good length of time. Feel free to jump in and chat and say stuff. I'll be keeping an eye on it and trying to bring it up in conversation as it seems appropriate. If there's like latency, or if you just can't hear us very well or whatever, you please let me know ASAP. I'm still not great at these things, but I'm going to do the best I can. Appreciate you being here. So, for our first guest, we're going to go ahead and invite Kumori, who has been very actively chatting with me today and is excited to be sharing some of his views. I kind of gave everyone an option to pick a topic, and obviously we'll probably stray from it, but we'll focus primarily at the beginning on what they've chosen for their topic, and I'm excited for him to be introduced, and so let's go ahead and get that going. I'll bring him in here, and we'll see if he should be all set. I had a quick chat with him, so we should be ready to go. Alright, Kumori, are you here with us?
Alright. Am I good?
Oh, you're good, you're good. How are you doing tonight, by the way? Or today, I guess. I don't know where you are, so I'm not sure what time it is.
It is currently 10:37.
Okay, so we're roughly in the same area.
Yeah.
Awesome.
But I'm doing quite fine. How about you, Blue?
It's been an interesting evening setting this all up, but the fact that it's actually going is really all that matters. I'm gonna turn this music down just a hair, and then so I was just explaining to everybody that you were one of the people who said I'd love to participate in the live stream and talk about something, and you said that you were most excited to talk about the mecha side of stuff, and I'm pretty excited to hear about what you got to say.
I love mecha. I'll just say that right now.
So I'm guessing, are you like most people who are mecha fans? Did you start with like the Gundam series?
I actually started on Ava.
Okay. And I guess was that like what was it about the genre that's really pulled you in ever since you first got introduced to giant robots fighting stuff?
Well, my first real introduction was Pacific Rim, and it's just glorious. That's all I can say.
It is. There's something special about it.
It is. Just like the weapons, the different... It's just intriguing, I guess.
Yeah, it's interesting because like my first introduction also was not anime. Instead, it was Mech Assault. I don't know if you ever played that game on like the old Xbox, and I think it was on PlayStation, but at the time I had an Xbox. Loved that game, but I don't think those things hold a candle to frickin' Muv-Luv. So what's your most favorite thing about the Muv-Luv TSF and just the way it's been incorporated into this universe?
I would say just how realistic, I guess. Like how they actually have, like how it just seems to be natural. How like it doesn't seem odd or like just shoved in. It just seemed just naturally put in there.
Yeah, like it fits the universe, and I really liked how in Extra we got to see the Valgrinon, you know, like something we were relatable to, like playing in a mech video game. Although like we don't have anything like that over here that I know of, where you actually get to sit in the pod and everything. That sounded awesome. I remember saying back when I first played it, like, God, it's been so long. But I remember when I first sat down and played it, I was just like, this would be the greatest thing to ever have in real life. And then someone in the comments said, like, they do actually have that in Japan. And I was like, it truly is the Holy Land.
It is. They even have real mechs.
So I guess, is there a particular TSF design that is your favorite? I'm guessing I'm going to know what it is, but I got to hear what you got to say.
I shall. There we go. Link now. I'll just post it inside the hot room chat just so you have an idea.
Okay. I'll take a peek at that. Not that our viewers will be able to see it, but it'll be good for me at least.
Let's see here. Here we go. The Takamikazuchi Type C.
Ooh, interesting. So the Type C is particularly, like, it's the gray with the yellow highlights. Is that how you would primarily identify it?
Yeah.
Now, what makes the Type C so special?
I think it's an aesthetic design. Like, I like the Takamikazuchi.
I just realized I can show this on the screen. So real quick, viewers, this is what he's talking about. Oh, that did not help at all. I hit a button to look like expand, and it shrunk it, so I don't know. But that's the picture we're looking at here. Anyway, so, like, what about it again?
I just like its design.
Okay.
Sure, I like the normal Takamikazuchi. But I just like how it's more... Okay, sorry.
No, you go ahead. You go.
But I just like how it's more slim, how it's kind of more streamlined, I guess?
Okay. Yeah. Okay, so, I was gonna ask, so it's the Type C. Isn't it, like, the higher in the alphabet you go, like, the more advanced they're considered? Because this is really... I stayed away from the wiki for so long because I was desperate to avoid spoilers. But I think when I did a little research, isn't Maya's, like, a Type F or something?
Type R.
R, okay, yeah, so, like, is that kind of how it goes? The higher in the ranking, the more, like... higher caliber they are? Or is that am I spitballing here?
Maybe, I don't know. The only two I know is the Shogun and the C.
Yeah, makes
but
sense.
I know that the C is the lowest performing and the R is.
Well, I'm sure somebody will be able to correct us later on. There's some pretty there's some people have been able to garner some pretty amazing content from the Muv-Luv. Like, I mean, I'm almost a little jealous that it took me so long to discover the Muv-Luv series. Where there's been people who have been able to been fans of it for like 5-7 years, and like, yeah, I'm glad I finally found it. But it's a universe I want to continue to explore.
Yeah.
So
I first found the series through Schwartzmarken, however the heck you say it.
Wait, what'd you say? Like, what is it? I'm not sure what you're getting at.
It's one that takes place in Germany.
Oh, yeah, that's one of the ones I haven't seen yet.
Yeah, that was my first introduction into the series.
Now, is that a game or is it actually like a feature?
I think it's a visual novel.
Maybe a visual novel.
I think it's a novel, visual novel, and an anime, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, once again, we're both talking like it's just the surface amount of detail and understanding. I'm sure it's driving people in the comments crazy. If you do want to correct us, feel free. Comments are open and ready to go. But all right, so let's get a little bit back into the mecha genre itself, and how the Muv-Luv series compares to some of them. I guess on a scale of like Like, is there a series that involves the mecha anime or mecha visual novels that you think is better than Muv-Luv, or is Muv-Luv going to be one of the top ones?
I think Muv-Luv will be one of the top ones, but I'd probably say there's a lot of good ones out there. But still, it would either be that or Evangelion,
Okay.
honestly.
See, Evangelion, I hear mixed about. Like, I either hear people either love it or hate it.
I love it.
I'll have to make sure to give it a try. I think the other one I'm familiar with is I had a roommate once who was a huge fan of the Gundam series, and I think he verbally told me the entire story of Gundam Seed from beginning to end over the course of a month.
I have never watched Seed, actually.
Interesting. He made it sound interesting, but once again, this was like way, way before I'd ever really watched. I'd watched maybe Baccano and Full Metal Alchemist. That was the only experience I had in anime at the time, and so I was like, okay, cool. And he just did not. I don't know. It was one of those things where it's just like, it was kind of cool, but he made it very, very uncomfortable because he would never stop talking about it.
Yeah.
I need a break sometimes, even from my stuff. All right, so Daniel. Oh, hey, Daniel Nunez. Good you join us. So Schwarzmarken is a VN set in the West Germany 1983, and he says it's brutal, which means don't spoil it. I have to play it on my own sometime. Because, well, I can kind of guess the general. People are going to die, because that's... Muv-Luv is like the Game of Thrones of freaking visual novels, right? It's just like, anyone you know and love, they're dead. It's just, it's going to happen.
All I have to say is, chomp.
Oh, no. I actually, I would go through all the pictures to set up this little montage, and I got to go see the chomp again, and it still sucks. Everything about that sucks. But anyway, okay, so back to the mecha. So you like how they feel in the anime, how realistic they are in the universe in itself. So what do you think about the fact that they are often so outclassed by the beta?
It just goes to show how overwhelmingly dangerous they are. How people have probably changed, well, literally since they were like 16. To pilot these things, and then they just get stomped in a matter of minutes.
Yeah, it's really kind of depressing because like they feel so fluid. Like, so I guess compared to what's it called again?
Evangelion.
Evangelion. I was gonna say it wrong and I knew it, so I was like, I just better ask. Evangelion. If I remember correctly, the mechs in Evangelion are really, really big, so you wouldn't really be a fair fight seeing a TSF go up against one of them. Is that am I feeling that out right?
Honestly, they're about the story, like they're about the height of a skyscraper.
Fish.
Like not that big, but like a tall building, like probably on the bigger end of office buildings. Maybe I don't know their exact height.
Okay, so like, do you think a TSF would stand up against other what mechs in other series do you think a TSF could take out? I think Pacific Rim's mechs are pretty big, but I think that the mobility of a TSF would be able to outclass them.
Yeah, because the greatest scene I can think of is when in Tokyo, when it's just running through the city.
Yeah.
Danger. Yeah. Like, sure, it's big, but still, it's moving really slowly, though.
Well, it's relative. I mean, things that are big look like they're moving slowly when they are moving, like, at a good clip. But, like, when a TSF would absolutely be able to jump out of the way of that. So, it'd be like, how would you catch the TSF? And especially because they're so melee-focused. So, I guess Kaiju are a bit of a different beast than the beta, though. I still think the beta are scarier.
Yeah. Well, the Laser Quest is a perfect example of that.
Those would be the worst. It's not even that they're it's not even the terror that they are, which they are terrifying. It's the fact that they're just so freaking broken. It's just like, what are you supposed to do? It's just like, the best we can do is throw stuff in the air and hope that it distracts them. And that usually doesn't even work. It's just, it'd be so annoying to deal with those things.
Yeah. Oh.
So I guess about the mecha specifically, I guess one of the biggest problems with dealing with real mechs, like if we were to say, oh, if the Muv-Luv universe were to be our universe, heaven forbid, but if that actually happened and you were actually piloting a TSF, like I'd imagine that the challenges would be the incredible G-forces that you would experience at doing anything at speed. I mean, the TSFs look like they can practically move on jump jets, like jet speeds, and they can fly.
Yeah.
So,
Well,
like, do you like what would why would that be so hard to pull off in like today's universe technology?
Probably just the size of it, honestly, and just trying to get down all the complex features down, because even today we're like right now we are just barely starting to get mechs with more complex movements down.
Oh yeah, so you are you familiar with some of the more like modern technology that's like kind of going in that direction, or is that just something you've been reading like casually?
Like I actually watched a video on it just like maybe a month ago about where it was an actual mech, but it had like all of its fingers actually moved. Like you could actually move its fingers, whatnot. It was a really cool video.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're just now getting to that though.
Well, I imagine like Intergalactic Threat, like the beta, like it kind of like I think Takeru talks about it early in Unlimited, where he's like, why are they so advanced but then so not advanced at the same time? And then he's like, oh wait, the omnipresent fear of death and destruction probably pushed them in different directions.
Yeah.
By the way, we got a comment from Shadow the Ninja who says that if we were interested in mecha anime, he would recommend Gunbuster. Apparently, there's a musical homage to it in Muv-Luv. And it's very short. So, have you heard of that one? I'm definitely putting that one down as something I'm gonna watch.
I think I've heard of it. It definitely sounds familiar.
I'm gonna see if I can find. I'll check Crunchyroll real quick just to see if it's not there. Then I'll find it later. But
yeah.
All right. So I guess when I asked you like what you wanted to talk about and you said the mecha, was there like anything in particular you really wanted to bring up? Because I've been asking lots of the questions now, but I want to know what you wanted to talk about.
Like mainly just their designs, how I guess. Like mainly just your opinion on the different mechs in the universe, I guess.
Okay. Well, it looks like Gunbuster 2 is on Crunchyroll, FYI, so I'll check that out.
Alright.
Anyway, so, the Tekkamekazuchi is probably... I love the look of it, although I have to admit, when I first saw them, I thought they looked really bulky. Like, it felt very much like they had like big shoulders and the head spike. It was like, they're very decorative, and sometimes that can be a deterrent for me, because I've always figured like if you're going to be having a military craft, like not that I want it to be barren, but I like anything that when you start adding flares that don't serve a purpose, I feel like it detracts from its capabilities. Because I mean, a good example of this is when you have high-speed cars. Like if you're trying to design a car that can drive very, very fast on a racetrack, every kilogram can make a difference. Like, one of the best ways to make a fast car isn't to make the biggest engine, but to make the lightest vehicle. Because, like, ultimately, the weight versus power is what that ratio is all that matters. And so Tekkamekazuchi felt like it would be too bulky, that it would lose some of its, like, oomph and its chutzpah. You know, like, it wouldn't be able to dash around as much. But if anything, we see the alternative, and I'm guessing that the Muv-Luv universe accounts for that, because it also doesn't seem like the Japanese in this timeline would be frivolous with their mech technology.
Yeah. Like, I'm pretty sure, like, I'm pretty sure this came up in Total Eclipse, but Manjid was like, hey, this thing sucks. It's so unbalanced. But I'm pretty sure, I think it was for the Shiranui, maybe? Or Fubuki, one of the two.
Probably Shiranui, because the Fubuki was more of like the starter trainer one, and the Shiranui was...
No, it was a Fubuki.
Was it? Oh. I thought that's what I was saying. The Fubuki was the training one, because that's the first one they get. And then Shiranui is the one they upgraded to. Anyway, TSFs are pretty good in general. I mean, Takaru made them all dance, so he showed they could all do pretty well. And then, but then nothing could compare to the Susanoo and its freaking majesty. Though, of course, the Susanoo stopped being a mech, I think. It kind of turned into...
a literal flying fortress.
Yeah, it's a flying fortress, and it literally flies. It's like, at that point, can you really call it a mech if it never really touches the ground? Or if it does, there's something horribly wrong? So, doesn't quite count, which is a bit sad, because Taku, I feel like, I think I guess he didn't go out. If he was going to die, he was going to die in a TSF. So I guess the fact that he didn't is probably for the best. But man, that outro. I still get really sad when I think about that ending. But
yeah,
it was cool because it was nice to see real, I don't know, consequences. And I liked watching, especially with Class Rep and Ayamane, when they were fighting, we got to see like mechs put into critical damage situations and watched and read, but also kind of witnessed the effects of when the TSFs are taking damage, how they still try and compensate. That's probably what makes mechs really versatile for a battlefield. Like, in essence, they seem really costly and inefficient, but what they make up for in their the monetary value and tech that you need to build one, they make up for it in having mobility and adaptability. Like a tank, you shell a tank, it's pretty much done. You take out its treads, it's done. If you take out a TSF's leg, it can, like the human inside can compensate. You take out its arms, it can still flee. Like, you'd have to do so much damage to a TSF or any mech to really get it down to the point where it can't do anything.
Yeah, like literally have it cut in half.
Yeah, Odd Gaming guys agreeing with us that the Susanoo was called the High Mobility Aeronautical Fortress. I didn't realize it makes sense that they would call it that, but it's very true.
Like I'm pretty sure somebody actually in Alternative literally called it a flying fortress.
I mean, it's the best definition for it out there. All right. So we're getting close to the time where we're probably gonna switch over. But I want to know, like, is there anything else you want to bring up in particular about the playthrough, about the series, about what it's meant to you, as in general?
I just really love Max, and this series has just amplified that.
Yeah, I can't speak for a whole lot of other shows per se, but I like the human element of the mechs. Like, if everyone still felt like they fought with personality.
Yeah,
and that's it's something, it's hard to pull off. But hey, thank you so much for taking the time to spend with me and just kind of geek out over mechs and all of Muv-Luv in general. I'm really happy that you enjoyed watching. I mean, the fact that you're even here means that you liked something that I did, so I appreciate that. I guess if there's anything else you want to say, or do you have a YouTube channel or a art channel or anything you want to plug?
I run a mech account on Twitter.
Oh yeah? So what's your handle if people are interested in looking you up?
Here, I'll just at Hairu_Komori.
Gotcha. So anyone who's interested in kind of following or want to have some more chats about mechs, like, go ahead and check him out on Twitter. Thank you so much for joining me, and I look forward to seeing you in the future. Hopefully we'll do some more mech content in the near future.
Let's hope. All right. Let's see you later. Blue.
Bye. All right. So I will spool up the next person. Looks like Daniel has returned. I think that'll be okay if everyone's okay with him coming in, because he was technically a little further up in the queue. So I don't know if there's anyone who would object per se, and I guess technically this is my show, so I can kind of do what I want. So just patience, everyone. We will get you all back in shortly. So Daniel, I see you're in the chat room. So normally I was planning to move you in when I'm ready, but if you're ready to jump in, you can unmute yourself. Otherwise, I'm going to be pulling someone else up.
I'm here. I don't know if you can hear me.
I can hear you. You're good now. You were muted for a second there, so that's what was going on.
Yes. Okay.
Hi, how's it going? Do you want to be Daniel or what?
It's fine. And Dan Marcel is actually Daniel Marcelo. So
Oh, see, that's good. I've already forgotten that. So
yes, no, I saw a nickname, so that was the most original thing I can think of. So
that's all good. Now, thank you so much for joining us. Sorry, when we first started, we were the person who was gonna go first needed to go last because he's running behind from work. So, but then you weren't there right when we started, so I was like, all right, we'll go to 3, but now we'll jump right to you if you're okay with that. Now, when you were messaging me about what you wanted to talk about, you mentioned talking about Kasumi and specifically mentioning some of the things she's been going through. Is that still what you want to talk about?
yes, the thing is, Kasumi is a really interesting character because to understand her actions in Your Limited, you have to play alternative. Once you complete alternative, you understand all the things she did in Your Limited.
That's true.
You realize something. You realize that she always knew who Takeru was. She always knew that.
Isn't that crazy? And she not only understood that, but she we kind of understood from the ending of Alternative that whether it was a combination of Samika's feelings and his kind actions or just her innate feelings, she admitted that she loved him. And I can't imagine that would be different in Unlimited. So the whole time that he spent barely talking to her, because they were all more distant, I feel like she probably still harbored at least a very strong attachment to him via Samika, and she never really got to express that feeling until the very, very end, and by then it was kind of too late.
Yeah, and you have to think of another thing. When she confessed to Takeru, you also understand her disappointment when she calls him coward, when he runs to Extra.
Yeah.
You can understand. You can understand how hard it was for her, seeing him like a coward at his lowest point. And you have to remember that she was able to read his mind, and he was going crazy. You said in the stream, I remember he was close to become a monster.
He kind of did become a monster in a way. I mean, he ran from his troubles and thankfully did not do anything horrible to Maya, but he was very close. I think it's funny because I changed the title of the episode where Takeru really kind of snapped. Because originally, I remember how I was feeling when I had finished recording, because I usually pick a picture to make the thumbnail. Usually it's something that's meaningful to happen in that episode. Sometimes I have to edit it, sometimes I don't. The one I chose for that one was that confrontation between Takeru and Maya when he kind of went crazy. And the title of the picture, as I saved it, was "I Hate Takeru." When I thought about it, it became better, and I wasn't as upset at him. But at the same time, he really got as close as he could get without actually going to that edge. And yeah, I kind of liked how Kasumi was the one person who really called him out for what was happening and kind of what running away really meant.
Yes, and you notice that I don't know, maybe she expected too much of him, and she was really disappointed at that point. I didn't expect this of you. But she never said that she hated him or anything like that.
I wonder if Kasumi really could hate. She seemed like her whole life was just miserable.
Too pure for this world.
She is too pure. That's why I really want to play that expansion where you get to kind of play around in the alternate universe, the end one where she's in your class, because I want to see what she's like when her life isn't horrible.
Well, I know a little bit of that visual novel because I waiting for the translation. The fan translation is only partial. I saw a few CGs from that one. Those are really cute. You will love it.
I can't wait.
We will love it.
I think it's getting translated, right? Is that the one that's coming with the photon flowers, or is that going to be something else?
With photon melodies.
Photon melodies. Sorry, photon flowers. I don't know. I swear, I'm going crazy.
Just a pause. You have to get photon flowers. It's really good, really good.
I'm excited. Yeah. Oh, absolutely. With how meaningful Muv-Luv has become to me in my life, and the fact that it's been such a big part of the channel, like anytime it comes out translated, I'm gonna definitely cover it. Heck, I might even go for the fan translations because I want more.
Yes, I have said this a couple times on the comments. For me, I cannot really get visual novels on my native language. We don't get anything in Spanish.
That's so hard. I can't imagine.
Yeah, yes. You have problems getting stuff in English. In Spanish, we're screwed.
Yeah, it's unfortunate because like it's the whole just order of operations when it comes to like the languages of the world and languages of Japan. Unfortunately, we kind of conquered them, so naturally English is going to be a very prevalent language. So obviously it's going to be the first pick. And it's also big audience and everything. But no, like I'm grateful for the companies that do take the time to translate more. That's actually one thing Fruit Bat Factory, they've sponsored several series on the channel up till now. And one thing that I found very impressive about that company is that they are a translation company, but they they take the visual novels and they translate them into English. I know they do French and Portuguese, and I'm pretty sure they do Spanish, but I'm not 100% on that. So at least there's someone out there fighting the good fight for you.
Yeah. Well, anyway, let's return to Kasumi.
Yes, Kasumi.
Yeah. So there is a few things I will want for us to think about her. First is the things she does in Unlimited. She does the same things because she tries to wake up Takeru every morning. We know in Alternative that she was doing that so she can project into Sumika that action.
Yeah, to help try and give Sumika something like to feed off of.
That's why in Alternative Sumika says, "Wait, I was not waking you every morning. It was me."
Yeah. Ooh, good point. Yeah, because I thought it was just like a misrepresentation, but it also literally could have been Kasumi just bringing her the memories to try and give her something like to pull her out of her.
Yeah. Yes, and she tells Takeru, the thing is, your memories of Sumika are so bright, so cheerful, so fun, and she wanted that because in the end, Kasumi was the only person that Kasumi has was Yuko. And well,
she can be an interesting friend.
Yeah. I mean, Yuko. I know that Yuko will never be mean to Kasumi. I know that.
Yeah.
We saw Yuko always try to, I don't know, show herself stronger than she really is.
Yeah, and she's not afraid to use people to their fullest extent, and that would extend to Kasumi. But there also was an element of genuine care, like how she would go out of her way to kind of bring Kasumi with her when she would go out. And then I really while there was a motivation of having Kasumi and Takeru spending a lot of time together to kind of increase their bond, at the same time, the way it kind of came about, I felt like Yuko was really trying to push good memories and good experiences between the two of them, allowing Kasumi to kind of live a little bit.
Yes, and that's a good part because she changes a lot in Alternative. You finally realize all the stuff she was doing. The most important point in Alternative for her is when Yuko reveals to you her powers and tells you, "Oh yeah, she was doing all these cute drawings of you were to keep your memories of you in this world."
And you would have to sit there awake drawing the whole time.
Yeah, and you say, "What?"
Oh man, she's adorable. She's the must protect character. You want to protect all the girls in this series, but she's the one you're just no, you can't have her.
Yeah, and that's the thing. You have to see in Unlimited. Think about this. She knows who Takeru was. She knew who Sumika was, but she was never able to tell him anything. She had to keep the secret from him.
Because he'd go crazy otherwise.
Yeah, and he was her only friend after Alternative 5 was implemented. But she will never be able to reveal him the truth. And she had to keep all that for herself. So you can kind of understand why she wanted to be with the brain until the end. Because she has all these secrets, all this pain. And
it was a part of her, really.
Yeah. So it's for her, it must be really hard. And in the end, one thing I like about Unlimited is the ending song.
Yeah.
It's by her BA, so I find it really fitting.
Oh, really?
Because,
I didn't know that. Oh, that's so cute. Because I remember that was the first time that was the channel first for that. Because like that song was playing and the outro was going, and I was sitting there, I was just like, you gotta get all weepy. That song is always gonna have a plus.
I cannot hear that song without getting all teary because, oh my god.
No, this series, man, it makes you just feel so much stuff, and that's one thing that's so powerful about it is like, was there any character who wasn't like, well, who didn't go through hardship and then overcome it? And then like we're talking about Kasumi specifically, and think about like what she's overcome. I think of all the characters, I think she actually had to face the most hardship of anybody. I mean, there's a whole like her forced birth and creation for a project that was effectively to go into combat and try and read people's brains. Everybody who was like her that she kind of grew up with and trained with got killed, and she was the only one who never went on a mission. So she always felt like she mentioned that, and she gave the impression that she carried that as a burden. Like, why wasn't I able to try and help? And then she was paired up with the Sumika in her brain state, and so she had to constantly hear effectively the screams of a crazy person and try and figure out how to talk to her while never being able to talk to anybody. Living in a basement.
Can you imagine how painful would that be to be with somebody with Sumika in the brain tube every day, trying to keep her sanity?
And having to see, maybe not clearly, but even just impressions of what Sumika went through. Like, almost be like sharing the burden.
Yeah, we know that what really happened to Sumika wasn't shared to Kasumi until way into an alternative.
Right, that's true. Because she was almost a blind slate of just pain.
Yeah, but she must have seen something. So, and other thing is about Operation Cherry Blossom.
Mm-hmm. Oh, no.
And there, Kasumi was able to read everybody's mind. Every time that TSF came close to the Susanoo, Kasumi went silent, like, oh, this girl wants to kill herself. Oh, this girl is doing this. And Takeru asked, what's happening? Oh, nothing.
Yeah, I know. And then she just got quiet. And like as people, I think she even, it wasn't 100% sure, but it gave me the impression that when they fell, she knew it. Like she could tell that they were no longer around. Because I remember Takeru had that one scene where he's just talking about, like, we just got to believe in the others. They're going to be okay. We're going to pull through this. And she just like was quiet. And it's just like, you knew. She's like, she knew something. It's like, Kasumi. And then, holy crap. Then to have her mind invaded by the hive mind. That must have been horrible, too. Like, and didn't that nearly kill her? Like, the whole, like, communicating with the hive mind creature and then, like, trying to communicate back to Sumika. She literally was going to throw her life away on an off chance that they might be able to talk to Sumika for just a few seconds.
And she was really brave there because she was like, I might never wake up again, but I have to do this. I decided to do this because we need to do this to complete the mission.
Mm-hmm. She probably, I think she was one of the most dedicated because, like, everyone else, remember, they always talked about the pillars of strength. Everyone else had something that really knew they wanted to fight for. Kasumi fought because she wanted to help. She didn't really have anyone she directly could protect. Maybe Sumika, but like, at the same time, I feel like she was the one who was the most, like, of all of them, she was really like the volunteer. And I don't know, that makes a difference. Also, Odd Gaming Guy's been saying, he commented a while ago saying that, like, if you think it's hard to get Spanish translations, imagine trying to get Danish, because he said they get nothing.
No, I know. I cannot imagine that because in Latin America there are a lot of fans of anime, and we got a lot of things translated.
I've been noticing. I heard. I saw some statistic that talked about how in Central America specifically, there's a massive resurgence of anime fandoms, and that it's numbers wise and streaming hours wise, it's almost already like on par with North American streaming. So it just shows how quickly it's growing in popularity.
Yeah. The only problem I have is with Crunchyroll. A lot of things you can see, I can't.
Oh, stupid! Get a VPN, man. You can. That'll fix it, kind of. I don't know. It sucks. You have to pay money for those, though.
Like Fruits Basket.
Mm-hmm.
I can't watch it legally.
The new one?
Yeah, I can't.
Oh, I'm so sorry. It's really cute. I like it already. I watched the first episode yesterday.
Don't worry. I manage.
You manage.
Yeah, but that's why I'm really grateful when they translate these visual novels for without regions, and everybody can play it. Yeah. And in the end, like it's in Muv-Luv, English is the universal language, so yeah, I can deal with it.
Yeah.
Like I won't say that English can get shit like the guys on the cup of the ad. So that's the thing. I really want us to appreciate what Kasumi did.
Mm-hmm.
I really want to. I mean, if you think about all what she did, you can really understand her tears on the end.
Oh yeah.
Because it looks like she remembers.
Yeah, I think were you? It was you. Yeah, I think it was you, but it might have been somebody else who pointed out that because Takaru calls her, but he calls her Yoshida-san. Yashida-san or something by her formal name, and she and that's when she bursts into tears, and they're they point out it looks like she could remember, and that it would hurt. It was effectively the same thing as when Takaru went to school and Sumika called him called him by his Shirogane-san, and it was it crushed his soul. It probably was something very similar, and I was I didn't even think about that at the time. I was too caught up in happy thoughts.
And if you got the ending when she confessed to Takeru, her tears become more important, because if she loved him and he doesn't really remember her,
just those faint impressions, like the one every time he saw someone he burst into tears for a second and didn't know why. I was happy that he at least retained enough awareness of his subconscious to know that he was really happy to see everybody.
Yeah.
I want to play that game.
I know. Well, I don't know if I will have time to do a defense of the ending of Alternative, but that will be later.
I've got a few more minutes. But so defense of the ending. What do you want to say about that?
Yeah, the thing is, a lot of people doesn't like the ending of Alternative because they say, "Oh, Takeru reverts to his original self, to his almost." I will say, lovable idiot self.
Well, I mean, but you can't, unless you literally broke the whole concept of the fact that the Takarus that combined to form alternative Takaru wouldn't divide up and go back to their original universes. That would kind of defeat the whole concept of the resolution if he didn't do that, because it's not like he actually experienced or remembered those events. But we get to see echoes, so we know there's something in there of him that's real.
Yes, and there's other thing. Imagine if he kept his memories. He will have
PTSD.
If
he's lucky, that's all he'll have.
Yeah. Imagine that. He returns with all the memories. Sees Maya there.
Heck, he did that. Remember? Remember when he went back and he had horrible nightmares and woke up every morning in tears and freaking out. And then no, he can be stupid again. It's fine.
that would be horrible for him, because in the end we saw that when it's needed, he can be a really strong person. He can be really supportive, really lovable. So we know what he can become.
And I think that actually is what helps speak to us too. Like, I don't know whether all of us really come to this conclusion, but one of the things that I kind of realized was that Muv-Luv was also trying to tell the story of how, like, you can take an everyday person and that person can find greatness in them when the circumstances arise. Because, like, in Extra, I mean, Maya might have been trained with a sword, but beyond her, it's not like any of the girls or Makoto. At the time he was a guy. Any of them were like mighty warriors. It's not like any of them could have faced death itself, initially from their extra lives. I mean, heck, Tama could barely fire a bow and arrow if someone was watching her. And then, like, to see them, the same people, but in entirely different circumstances, and then see the strength that they go through, they portray. I think it's showing that the tenacity of the human spirit, the adaptability, and the willingness for us to put aside the stupidity in ourselves and rise to the occasion when presented with a challenge. I think a lot more of us could do that than we think.
You're right. The thing is, in the end, this wall tale tells you, you have to appreciate what you have. You think you have disaster? You think you have things difficult?
Mm-hmm.
Think again. It's true for most Western countries and Japan.
Mm-hmm.
I mean,
it's easy to forget how hard life could be.
Yeah, we are really lucky.
We are so freaking lucky. I get to spend our free time putting videos on YouTube. That's the epitome of, like, my life is nice.
Yeah, because in the end, this Takeru thinks about it when he returns to Extra, and he thinks, what will happen if modern Japan gets in the war? And he thinks, oh, our life will be screwed in a week. So his realization becomes for the reader too, that we have to appreciate what we have, and it's one of the things this visual novel has for you. This message that, hey, wake up.
Yeah, don't take it lightly. Be grateful and know that it can be taken from you. You never know how, but it could. Powerful. Yeah. All right. Well, it's getting around to the time where we probably should move to the next guest. But is there anything about the series or about the playthrough, or maybe specifically Kasumi, since we've been talking about her, that you really want to say before we say goodbye?
Well, about Kasumi, I think the good thing is that fans really appreciate her. I think we should appreciate her more.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. No, she's. Yeah. I think. I hope that everyone's been given some things to think about in regard to Kasumi, because the one downside she really has as far as waifu material goes is that we got really to spend like very little or very kind of flat time with her through most of the series. I mean, you got to know like Maya and Sumika and Class Rep and Yamane and Tama like really, really well through Extra and Unlimited. And then Alternatives where you get to meet Kasumi, but by then you already love the main cast. And so it can be easy to just kind of sideline her. And I think that that's a mistake if we don't take the time to really like try and understand her position. So I'm really grateful that you've taken the time to bring her up here and to talk about her.
No problem.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for joining us. And thank you for just being awesome. I appreciate your time leaving comments and giving me stuff to think about through the series, and hopefully I can keep doing something that keeps you coming around.
Okay, thank you. It was a really, really nice Let's Play.
Thank you. I mean, it was just fun to share it, but I appreciate it. All right, man. Have a good day. Oh, real quick. Do you want to plug anything? Like, do you have a YouTube channel or something you want to that you want to share if people are interested?
No, actually, I don't have anything to share. My Twitter timeline is mostly in Spanish and stuff.
Okay. So. Well, if anyone's fluent in Spanish and you're interested, maybe send him a message. He will be he's in the.
Yes, you can find me anywhere by Dan Marce in Facebook and Twitter.
Perfect.
Anywhere.
All right. Well, thank you so much, and I'll talk to you later.
Yeah. Thank you. Bye.
Bye. All right, so let's see who is up next in the order. So we have So Just Ryu is next in the schedule. I'll go ahead and pull him in and make sure he's all set and ready. Hey Ryu, you there?
Oh, yes, I am.
Thank you so much for hanging out and agreeing to join us once again. You've probably been my most consistent guest in any streams, and I've always appreciated that. So thank you once again for joining us.
No problem. I appreciate the opportunity.
Oh yeah. So real quick, it looks like the topic you really want to talk about the most was the themes and messages of Muv-Luv and the lessons that we've learned. We've been able to talk a little bit about that in general with our first few guests, but let's really start getting into the meat and potatoes. I guess when you brought up this subject, what's the one thing you wanted to make sure we talked about?
Well, there are at the core probably 2 and 3 things. The first one was actually mentioned just a few minutes ago.
Okay.
Being grateful for what we have. I think that's a very prominent one, easy to see one, but important nonetheless.
Oh yeah, I think we definitely have more room to continue talking about that one because heck, I'm still just thinking about it. I think when I played through Muv-Luv or when I watch shows, I think some of the more impactful ones are the times when it's not even in fiction. There was a video that came out of the Syrian conflict last year, where it was oh man, it still hurts even to think about this. It was showing the after effects of a gas attack on civilians in the Syrian capital, and just showing the raw footage of what it was doing to these husbands, these wives, these children, and watching them struggling to breathe, bleeding from their eyes, and people being shoved into hospitals that are crumbling around them. And I remember watching it and just being horrified because it feels like that shouldn't happen anymore. And in a way, for me, it doesn't. I'm lucky enough to live in a place where we have basic rights and relative peace, and heck, I don't even have to worry about paying for most of my medical problems. But then you look at something like that, and it's that's real. It's kind of like Takaru, when he was in Unlimited, especially when he would sit and reflect, and he was just well, my world wasn't peaceful. But it was so much more peaceful than the beta universe, and just I don't know. It's still hard for me to believe that we live in a world where that can still happen.
Yeah, I think this is an important lesson to learn. In fact, I personally think that Earth as a whole teaches quite a lot of important messages where, as you see Takeru growing up, so to speak, and becoming more mature, the lessons that he learns, I think they are very applicable to our own selves as well. And one of it was just like just now, being grateful for what we have. Being grateful can help us to strive to use our time better. I think a lot of us, our young selves at least, tend to let go with the flow and just let things go, without being too productive. So being grateful will help with that. I think.
Yeah, it's I can't help but think about how I still am pretty naive in these kinds of things because I've just never had to face a lot of real hardship. But I also think about how I was back in school, and middle school and high school, and how big my problems felt and how stupid they actually were.
Yeah.
No, someone called me someone called me a name today. It's ruining my whole life. It's no, that's not even close to ruining your life.
Yeah. Another message I think that, if I may.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, so another message I think was important was the message of having a purpose. That Takeru obviously talked about a lot of times, having a pillar of strength.
Yeah, the pillar of strength. It's interesting because like Takeru kind of went back and forth on that like a little bit. Like he talked about having the pillar of strength, but then like later on, it talked about how like that wasn't even enough. Still, that there was more. Like that you go deeper than just that. And like I don't know. So like I guess do you feel like you don't have to say it obviously, but like do you feel like you've been able to find your pillar of strength, or are you still trying to figure out what that is for you?
That's the thing. That's another message that Muv-Luv teaches us. They try not to overestimate yourself.
That's true.
I
Good
think,
point. That was a dumb question to ask.
yeah. No. I mean, right now, I feel like I do have currently I do have a sense of purpose. That what I want to do in life, what I want to achieve in life. But then that doesn't mean you have fully matured. As Takira has found out by himself, he thought quite a few times in alternative. He thought he has achieved maturity, so to speak.
Yeah.
Maybe not exactly that, but he thought he's already there. He's ready for whatever's coming. But time and time again, we find that he just isn't ready. And the same thing applies to ourselves. I think we think we have grown up enough, but to be frank, I believe that we always still have room
Oh, yeah.
to fully to mature.
Yeah. And it's hard because like we really don't know. We can try and say that we're ready, that we have the resolve to do whatever it takes to accomplish a task, like to protect ourselves, protect our families. But like never having been face to face with a confrontation that could result in injury or death like that, like I always wonder like I might feel like I've got the resolve, but I wonder if I really do. Not that I want to find out, but like I'm curious because I wonder what my true strength really is. Like, I like to think it's a lot more than it used to be because I used to worry about things like getting old and dying. I still kind of do, but like I'm a lot more at peace with the idea than I used to be. And I think it just kind of came from a realization that like I mentioned this in my videos before, I think, but it's like I wouldn't so much be sad to like have my existence ends. Like I mean, when I pass, I pass. It'll happen someday. But like at the same time, I feel like I've reached a point where like the thing that would bother me more about passing away isn't so much the fact that my experience would end. It's more about like worrying about the people who I'd leave behind. You know, like I'm married, I've got kids, like I feel like I'd be more concerned about them than I am about me. And I feel like that's a big step in my maturity and my pillar of strength is like I've stopped being so focused on myself. And I hope that comes if I ever have to be confronted with an actual dangerous situation. I hope that holds true. I have no idea though.
Yeah, I mean, we're only not even 30 years old. I think both of us. I think there's still plenty to experience and go through.
We got a good comment here. Nice Ira. I'm sure I'm slaughtering your name. I'm sorry, but he said maturity. You never really mature. You only get older and wiser. But there's no hard cap where you can stop growing. That was very wise. Like there's no point where you're like I've made it. Like you can feel like you've made it, like I was just talking about. But at the same time, like you've always got more you can learn. There's always more you can grow, and there's always something else to tackle and something else to grow from.
Yeah, it really teaches you to be humble, to always consider that there's something else to learn, or there's somebody else who can teach you something.
That's the greatest trap, isn't it? Like as we move, we sometimes feel like, yeah, I think I finally got my hand on the situation, and we actually see that in Muv-Luv like multiple times, where Takeru like when he first diverted the whole the crashing spaceship, like I can't remember what they called him, but when he stopped that HSST, when he stopped that, he's like, yes, I finally figured it out. I've mastered it. I've been able to stop like ceaseless lives. I've been able to help us progress faster. It's all good. And then you have the coup, and he's like, holy crap. What happened?
Yeah.
Why did this happen? And then he starts feeling like he's training hard, and he's like, I finally got a handle on this. Like, I helped develop the MX3. It's going to save millions of lives, and people are respecting me for what I've done. Like, I got this. And then the beta attack, and Marimo-chan, and then he's like, he falls apart because it's like he was not capable of handling that at the time, and he runs, and then he ends up killing more people because of his running, and he finally has to come back, and he finally has to admit that he was so far from ready. And then even to the final like Operation Cherry Blossom, after everything they went through, like on the attack of Yokohama base and the Christmas invasion. Even by the end, he was still sitting there. It's like, all right, we got this. We're gonna go into the hive. We're gonna take him out. And then, like, he kind of has that realization when he gets into that final chamber, and no one else shows up but Maya. And he finally realizes what's happened, and he's just like, they had to lie to me to keep me from not breaking down, and they were probably right to do that. It's just like, even at the end, Takaru like had to admit, like, I'm not what I think I am. I'm not as strong as I feel like I should be, or I imagine I am.
Yeah. If there's nothing else, then maybe you can move on to the next point. Priorities. I think priorities is also something that is being referenced often. What between these few choices, what do you choose? I think one of the examples is during Mount Tengen, between Meiya's, the way Meiya's thinks and Takeru thinks, the argument that they had.
Mm-hmm.
What do you think about that one actually? Would you prefer living, or is surviving the most important thing?
Say that last part again. Like, kind of like we're getting a little like it wasn't mumbly, but like the distortion kind of kicked in. I couldn't hear it very well.
What I meant to say is, so the argument that Takeru and Meiya had basically boils down to, is surviving the most important thing, or is at least from my point of view, is free will more important, being able to choose your death more important than just surviving.
Yeah, like so thank you for restating it, just because like I was having trouble, like it I think it was my my side of the conversation, both having issues. But yeah, though, and it's an interesting line to draw, because like I'm not sure what that answer really is, because like Meiya was a really good example. I was so worried for Meiya when Tsukuyomi was like, when she approached Tucker and she's just like, hey, like, keep an eye on Meiya for me. It made me really panicky, and every time we were in a dangerous situation, I was like, oh no, what's gonna happen to Meiya? Something's gonna happen to Meiya, because I was terrified for her, because she's best girl, but we'll talk about that later. So I was worried about that, because I was worried that she would be the kind of person who would throw herself into harm in order to, if she felt that her sacrifice would save someone she cares about. And it's true, like that's actually the person she is. And it's really fun, and not fun, maybe not funny, but it's really interesting how in the end it turned out that she was like, she did have to do that, but she was the last one. I thought she was going to be the first one, because of that mentality, which and it's another brilliant stroke of writing when it comes to the story. But yeah, like the real debate kind of comes down to, is it better to give your life to achieve a goal, or to retreat so you can continue to fight another day? And like, it kind of comes back to what Yuko Sensei said. I think she really summarized it best, where she says it was after Captain Asumi faced her final day. And she said that Captain Asumi gave her life to give us the best possible future. And it's like, she talked about how like it wasn't needlessly thrown away. Her life wasn't like, her sacrifice wasn't like a spur of the moment type of problem. It was like, it was a calculated choice, to where like the gains of me staying here far exceed my own life and even my squad's life. Because it saved thousands of soldiers who were trying to retreat. It saved the Susano from being captured. It may not have prevented all the problems that came from that whole battle, but she certainly gave them time. And that's like the one thing that made it different, was that like it's a measure of, I think it's something it's hard to know in the moment, but like that's the fine line in hindsight, is that like at what point do you feel like the sacrifice is worth it? And that's such a hard line to even try to comprehend.
Yeah. Again, these are the things. Priorities are the things that Muv-Luv makes us try to think about. I think another line that sums it up quite well about priorities was what Yuhi said, the Shogun said.
Yeah.
You can't make everyone happy, that's pretty true to life as well.
Oh yeah, like we all could learn that lesson, I'm sure. Like it took me a while to kind of, and I'm still struggle with that sometimes. Like I feel like criticism hits harder than it should, but I'm working on that. By the way, I very much unintentionally started a waifu battle in the comments. It's not hot yet, but we've already got people saying like who best girl is, and everyone's not Maya. So yep, see, Old Gaming Guy literally just asked for Sumika supporters to assemble. So here we go. It's gonna be we're gonna. I think we might be about to have our own was it Avengers Civil War? Yeah, our own Civil War in the chat. That'll be funny. Yeah, we've had the conversation before, but I don't know if we've ever had so many people together all at once who have their different opinions. So it'll be fun to see how this goes out. But regardless, yeah. So I guess now that we've kind of hashed, so those are those three main topics you want to talk about. Was there anything else that you specifically wanted to bring up?
Well, there's maybe a couple more. I remember the talk Takeru had with the name slipped my mind during the party near the end. One of the seniors. I sorry, the name just slipped my mind.
It's okay.
Munakata.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, the talk that Takeru had with Munakata about maturing and understanding yourself.
Mm-hmm.
I think that also is important in part of a process of growing up. Being able to look at yourself, to assess yourself on where you are currently in life. That's
oh yeah, like and being honest with yourself too. That's kind of I think that's the biggest trick. Like my major ultimately is in the physical sciences, but before I switched to my physics major, I was a psych major. I learned that pretty quickly that it wouldn't be a good career, but I do find psychology fascinating. But one of the troubles with psychology is one of the only ways we really can have a decent insight into a person's psyche and the way they view the world and the way they see themselves is to give them a psychological test. However, most people tend to take the test not as they are, but how they like to think of themselves. And so you have to really take care to ask questions in the right way. You have to even sometimes do dummy questions just because you almost have to trick people to really try and figure out what their real feelings are. And it's like, it can be frustrating because when you're dealing with people, especially if they have problems, like maybe they have an addiction or they spend money too much, like they can't balance their budgets or whatever. And ultimately, like the problem resides in the fact that they probably aren't being honest with themselves, because it's so easy to see yourself in a positive light and to have that presence of mind to really see yourself even a little bit, and to really be able to do that self-evaluation and understand your own weaknesses. Like that's such a strong caliber of character.
Yeah. Then the other thing I had, the last thing probably that I can think of the messages Muv-Luv has is how you handle your own feelings, the whole conflict that Takeru had after Marimo's death, or after Chong, if you will. Um, and what Mia said, no matter what you feel, you have to be considerate of how you're acting, how your actions affect others, no matter what you feel. And that also even extends to when we look at how Chizuru handled her father's death. When we look at what Haruka, was it Haruka? Sorry, Mitsuki, I think. What she had to say when she punched Takeru regarding the matter.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, it's important it's important to consider how you affect others, no matter how you feel at the moment, no matter how angry or how sad, how negative you're feeling. Of course, I think this is another mood, a point where it's debatable. Where does it come to a point where it's just you can't just hold it in, or where does it come to a point where you should let it out? Yeah. So another important lesson to think about.
Yeah, amen to that. Well, we're getting a little close to the time where we're going to get ready to transition to the next guest, but I just want to say, before you go, is there anything else you want to particularly talk about, or anything that really moved you about the game or the playthrough, or anything that you just want to say, like, before we go?
Well, of course, I want to say thanks for doing this playthrough. It's always nice to be able to experience the game again through someone else.
Oh,
To see their reactions.
I'm glad that you decided to stick around for mine. I know that there are other people who play and are currently playing through it. Oh shoot, I was thinking about like bringing that information for anyone who's interested in watching someone else play through. But if you go to visual novels, r/visual novels on Reddit, there is a list of people. There's a list that pops up where people can share playthroughs that are currently going on, and I know there's at least one Muv-Luv Alternative that's being posted there. So, yeah, but yeah, no, I'm so grateful that you guys enjoyed it enough to stick around. Like watching the series grow with my channel has been really, really fun, and it's been interesting to see that even though the series is over for 2 weeks now, it still probably gets the most attention of anything on my channel. And so I'm hoping we're continuing to bring more people in, that people are enjoying it, and that in the future, even if we're not talking Muv-Luv all the time, that I'll be able to keep up the interest, that there'll be more that I can continue to do that is engaging and interesting for you. But I'm more grateful for you for being here, man.
No, this is not a problem. I just remember one question I wanted to ask you.
Go for it.
If you said not have changed your life, I'm interested to hear how exactly changed your life, if you don't mind.
No, that's okay. It's very ephemeral, so I'm not sure if there's anything in particular that's like, oh, like I'm never gonna be the same again because of this specific moment. What it really did. If you want to go for the more radical change, it changed the way I feel storytelling can occur. Not just in visual novels, though it definitely changed the way I see visual novels as an entity before. Because, for instance, when I first started it, one of the things I didn't like about Extra was I felt like I didn't have much control over the character. Like, I was very passive. And at that time, I said that I believed that the most advantageous point of visual novels was the fact that you could influence the story. And I do believe that has its time and place. But now that I'm sitting at the end of this, and I can see just how powerful a story can be through the visual novel setting, that never really had too much choice. I mean, I kind of had choices initially with Extra and Unlimited, but like Alternative effectively had none. And to experience that type of storytelling and how raw the emotions were as I played through it, and how attached I've become to the universe and the characters, I've had to fundamentally change the way I see writing and storytelling and character building. So that's the biggest change. But then philosophically, I also feel like it's brought together ideas of my attention. I've talked about a lot of them in my videos, like little moments where I like realize like how lucky I am, or how hard it would be to face like life or death situations and then be expected to be normal after that. To better comprehend what it means to dedicate your life to something, and to like, and I also like the beauty and the sorrow, but the beauty that comes with people who are willing to do what it takes to make something happen. Like, I don't know, it's like I'm struggling with the words of the feeling, I'm like, of that particular feeling. I'm hoping that you guys can kind of understand like the fact that it's not just about telling a story, it's about understanding what that story is bringing out in you, and making you sit, and like the times where you sit and think and be like, what if I were in a TSF and having to face down a charging horde of beta? Like, that kind of questions, even though it's never going to really happen in real life, I think those questions change you. If you let yourself really think about it, and then you experience it through the story. Like, that's why books are so powerful. They inspire people to have ideas, even if they're fictional. And so that's what's changed in me. I'm never going to forget it. I think to my dying day, I'm going to remember Muv-Luv and the characters and the feelings that it brought to me. And that's not very many things have achieved that. So it gets the 5 stars in my book.
Yeah, that's, I think, one of Muv-Luv's strongest strength. So,
yeah, it's something else. Well, thank you so much for joining me once again, and also, I guess, is there anything you want to plug? I know that you've worked on some other projects. I accidentally stumbled upon one day. Do you want to talk about that, or anything else you want to mention before we go?
Well, I guess I can talk about that. If any of us here, any of you who are visual novel readers, who are looking for people who are sharing opinions about certain visual novels, I think you can go to Kiniku Podcast. It's just a casual podcast where they talk about visual novels that they have read. Currently, I think they have done Steins Gate. They focus mostly on key visual novels.
Okay.
But once that's done, then there's no key visual novels left. They're just gonna do other visual novels. So yeah, if you're looking to have listen to what other people have to say about a particular visual novel, you can go have a look.
Okay.
At what they have to say.
And what was it called again? It was something podcast.
Kiniku.
Kiniku.
Yeah, Kiniku. It means muscle in Japanese. It's just
you should be able to
reference
find
to later process.
Yeah. You should be able to find it. Heck, honestly, if you type in Steins Gate Zero podcast, I bet you it would pop up, because I don't know if there's very many of those going on right now anyway. But yeah, so if you are interested in having more visual novel goodies, that's a good place to start. I know that I haven't been able to listen to it because I'm trying to avoid the spoilers, but I plan on checking them out and seeing what they're all about. But also know they're a smaller channel, so it's worth giving a look, because I think like a lot of small channels struggle to get people, and every little bit helps. So just mention that. But yeah, so thank you so much, Ryu. It's been a pleasure as always having you and talking with you. And I need to get you in my Stardew Valley game. We still need to make that happen. I just never have time.
No problem. Yeah, I appreciate it as well.
All right, have a good night, man. I'll talk to you later.
All right, goodbye.
That was good. All right, before we go into with the next guest, I just want to take a quick break because I want to talk about some of the stuff you guys are doing in chat, your shenanigans. I don't think I missed the fact that you guys went from a waifu war to a pizza topping war. What the heck? Pineapple on pizza. It's funny because when I was a kid, I actually liked it, but now I don't. It is kind of weird when you think about it, but I think it's hilarious that you guys spend time on that. So thank you for the laugh. I just didn't want to bring it up because we were talking about important subjects. So I decided to not talk about it right then. And I'm loving the conversation right now. Kind of, I've been watching you guys react to us talking about the more somber, the way it's affected us and affected me. So I'm glad that you're talking about that. At the end of all of this, I do plan on kind of giving my own little summary. So you kind of got a little bit of what's going to be in that. Also, assuming I don't need to go get a drink of some kind. I might have to, but I'm glad that we can hear. Now let's see who is next. Well, first off, we're going to see who is in the chat. All right, so Neko, I believe Neko is next. Yeah, so we'll have Neko and then Delta 7 as our guests. So I'll go ahead and grab Neko real quick, and we will get going. How's it going? By the way, do you going by your Discord name? Do you want me to just refer to you as Neko, or do you have a name you want to go by?
No, Nico, just.
Okay, Nico. So thank you so much for taking the time and joining me. I hope the wait wasn't too long.
No, it's okay.
Good. All right. So you mentioned when we discussed possible topics to talk about, you mentioned you wanted to really talk about the story like as a whole, overarching, and all the three games like bled and kind of weaved in and out of each other. So I guess, is there a particular place you think would be good to start?
I don't know. There are too many to start and to discuss.
Okay.
So you can guide the discussion.
Yeah, no worries. I got you, man. So when we talk about the three games, Extra, Unlimited, and Alternative, one of the most interesting things is that, I mean, we know it's not uncommon to replay through visual novels and to experience them over and over again to try out the different pathways. Probably what makes Muv-Luv the most unique story in my book is the fact that it kind of, like, they knew that that's how people played visual novels, and they played up on that, and they made it not only something that they could reference, but they actually made it canon to the story. I don't think any other visual novel I've come across actually does that. So I guess, what are your thoughts about that? Did you think that was good? Do you think it was cliche? Like, what was your opinion on the way they wrote that?
Some visual novel do that, but it's not the same. In Muv-Luv, it's real. Sorry for my English,
It's okay.
but it's real. At the end of Alternative, you see that what you do, it was true. Everything, every route you go was real, and it's powerful.
It is. And I liked how it not only was something that was like, because like in Unlimited, you got like some flashbacks whenever you went down a path with one of the characters. Like for instance, when you romance with like Tama, you get flashbacks of the romance with Tama in the Extra pathway. But then to have it in Alternative be something where like you get the flashback from the romance with Maya in Unlimited, and then it actually affected Sumika and knocked her unconscious from stress. Like, that was something else. And so, like, but it's interesting. So you mentioned there are other visual novels that do that. Do you remember any of those titles? I'd be interested to see what those are.
Magikoi, for example, do that, but not the same. It's a reference.
Okay.
Like, some people, some characters tell you, they discuss between themselves as they say, probably we will face each other, but not in this time, not in this route.
Ah, yeah. I guess in Fate they do that. They do that. That's interesting because like the Fate series is something I want to cover later on, so I don't want to talk about that very much. But like you kind of reminded me of that. So interesting. So and then what about for you? Since we're talking about the story and we haven't had a chance to talk about this like in conversation, but the chat was talking about it earlier. Do you have a favorite? I guess the waifu. Do you have the favorite one out of the dateable characters, and why is she the best?
Ayamine.
Ooh,
Obviously.
don't meet very many people who are big Ayamine fans. So, like, I guess, like, what is it about her that really like makes her more interesting for you?
The strange that she have in Extra.
Mm-hmm.
and she's a quiet girl. I like that. She's
Yeah,
more quiet, she's more mysterious, and I like that.
that's cool. And it's funny because like we talk about sometimes with tropes, when characters like come off as very cliche. Anime is very much a part of that, but the nice thing about Muv-Luv is it plays off of that. So you can have the cliche like kind of dark, quiet, sinister style girl that kind of Ayamine is kind of patterned off of. But as you got to know her as a character, you got to understand that like there's kind of a reason for it, and there's so much more to her than just an archetype, which is really cool.
And she changed, Ayamine changed quiet type at the end of Illimited.
Oh
She
yeah.
become more lovely, and it's cute. It's really cute. And it's the first character in the end of Alternative to say, no, he will die, we need to do something. And the last image we have when the TSF is completely broken, it's really cool.
Yeah, she really showed her growth at the end of Alternative because, like, it kind of pointed out, but it almost didn't need to, of where, like, she desperately wanted to rush out and try and help the situation, but she listened to her commander because, like, she trusted the system. At least in their groups, she trusted the system. And then when the time came, push comes to shove, she was able to overcome even the pretty much destruction of her TSF. And she like didn't at the end. She effectively she like crawled to the right spot for the to try and collapse the cave. Like she had to like physically like wiggle her way in a broken TSF there. Like there was if Ayamine had to go out, she went out just the way that she like it fit her so well as a character and as somebody who's like she always was the fighter, the one who would like you knew like if anyone was gonna go down like kicking and screaming, it was Ayamine.
Yes. But it's true that I will say it, Maya is probably the character that gives you the most.
Well, like it's a little. She has the advantage we get to spend so much time with her, but at the same time, like I genuinely do think for me, she was the most interesting one, and maybe part of it is because like she was so intense, but at the same time she had some like had innocence and like the real world almost felt like it was an alien place for her. And I always thought that would be a very interesting type of person to talk to. I tend to find that when I went on dates before I got married, the biggest problem I would have is I would usually go on 1 or 2 dates with a girl, and by the time the second date came around, or even the first date, there'd be a point where we'd just be sitting around and I'd be just throwing out random questions, trying to engage them in conversation, but there wasn't really much that was interesting to talk about. And for me, that's a huge problem. Like, I want to be able to be around people who are engaging and like they can be super different from me. That doesn't bother me. What bothers me is when people just when we don't have that mesh. And Maya feels like she's the one person out of the cast in particular that'd be like I would never be bored. She would always have something interesting to say. Ayamine, she had that same capability, but for me, I would find her a very frustrating person to deal with because of how like hot cold she could be.
Yes. She teases you.
She would. I would be like a dog in a collar on a thread. Like I would be like, and I would spend on my day to be like, what am I doing? Why? She's a good character though. Like that's the best part. Like there really is no right person. We all just are drawn to different characters, and it's fine. But it is fun to hear people talk about it. And oh man, I just looked at chat. Chat's going pretty good. So yeah, I guess and then as far as other stories go, maybe not the dateable characters. So like excluding the core, the 207B squad, you know, which is like the main cast. Who was your favorite character outside of the main group?
Everyone is hard to choose, but I will say Yuko.
Yuko Sensei?
Yeah. Yuko or Marimo, it's impossible to not choose these two.
They're so good. I kind of think like someone mentioned that in the original Muv-Luv, like there was an actual like Marimo-chan like ending in extra. I know there's like the kind of ending when you escort her to her room when she's drunk and she just kind of takes advantage of you, but that didn't really feel like an actual ending. Like, do you know if there was more to that in the original Japanese, or I don't know.
No, I don't know.
It's okay. All right, yeah, those two were pretty good. I loved their antics too. Like, I think of Extra, they like whenever you had like the one-on-ones with those two, it was always one of the funniest parts.
Yeah, Marimo is just not a funny character, but it's when the fun happens.
Mm-hmm. Oh man, so good. I think if I were to pick my like secondary characters are tough because like we don't get to know a whole lot about all of them. I think I'm gonna have to say my favorite was probably Asumi. I thought she was one of the most interesting and dynamic characters, especially because like everything she did seemed to have layers to it. Where like when Takaru first met her, she was just like cold, like stern leader. But then like when he needed like a shoulder to lean on, like us just for support rather than somebody to kind of firmly guide him in the right direction, she kind of like softened up and was there for him. And then I loved the conversation they had on the boat when she talked about the guy that she was chasing and fighting over with her sisters, and like we got to see that really human side of her. That came out, but then
she was a kind of superhero, and she became human at the end.
Yeah,
and it was really interesting.
It was, but then at the same time, I also have to give a shout out to Hayase because while she's probably too much woman for me, she's freaking hilarious, and like she definitely fills the category of like she'd never be boring to talk to. There'd always be something crazy to happen around her. So I guess I'm impartial to leaders.
Don't give her something to drink.
No, joke. Oh man, especially when you're not in the alternate universe, man. Like Rumbling Hearts. I'm very happy that everyone commented and got me to watch that before they showed up, because then I knew who they were. But at the same time, oh my gosh, everyone in Rumbling Hearts is stupid. Like I like them, but I hate them at the same time because they're all so dumb. And that's where the drinking really was a problem. Like, cause like in alternative, she would drink, and she kind of seemed like she was just goofy. She like didn't let herself go too far.
She probably much stronger in this world.
Yeah, she had to be. It's fun.
So, for the story.
Yeah.
So return to the subject.
Sorry, I got us on a tangent there. So more about the story. Yes. Let's see. So, going back to the story, like as it's crafted, well, I guess what were your thoughts when you first played through and you kind of found out that Takaru could go to like his original universe and effectively possess his counterpart there? When that whole concept was coming about, like, did you think that was too bit of a stretch for the story, or did it fit really well with the narrative?
I think I was okay with it. It seemed normal that you will just fuse with him, possess him, and it's sad for the author Takeru, but you are much stronger than him, so it seemed normal.
Yeah, and I think it's interesting because, like, sometimes when you have a series and it deals with time travel or alternate dimensions, a lot of series use those as crutches, like shoring up the plot. A good example of this is a TV series called Fringe. I don't know if you've ever had access to that.
No.
It had like 4 seasons. It had to do with pseudoscience and kind of wacky technology ideas. But it eventually kind of went down a route talking about alternate dimensions. And while the concept was really cool, the execution was pretty terrible because it just seemed like every problem they faced, they could just solve via applying themselves and trying to work with or destroy the fusing of the worlds and like the overlap that happened between them. And like it made the plot really predictable and it made it so that it took away a lot of the more random and fun activities that they started doing. And then there's also convenient time travel or convenient dimension hopping. A lot of stories just really struggle using those topics, but I think Muv-Luv might be one of the best cross-dimensional time travel stories out there because instead of it feeling like a cheat code, it kind of felt like a detriment. Like even Takeru, the fact that he kept replaying over and over just meant that slowly his mental state was becoming more and more unstable.
Yes, but at the same time, it was a save on Shumika part when she erased the memory that you have in the previous route with the girl. If you keep the memory like you did Maya route in Unlimited, and you keep the memory in the next, it will be much harder on you.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Like heck, he kind of got to cheat because he got to the last time he got to he got to keep a lot of his memories and he got to keep his physical physique. That definitely gave him a really important leg up. But then again, like it didn't really make his life any easier. It made it harder in a lot of ways. And heck, it was like this was the one like that's the scary thing is like I was thinking about it later at the end of the story. It talked about how like with the destruction of the core in Yokohama base and the state of Sumika just in general, like because she got to be with Takeru again and got to like really like express her feelings and they got to be in love and be together, this universe kind of was locked down as the last one. Like Sumika was gonna release him from the causality conductor loop, and so like they could have fully failed. Like it might have just completely collapsed. And like it because Takeru through the whole thing he kept mentioning it's just like I don't want to go looping again, but we all kind of thought like, oh yeah, well if he died he'd go to loop again. But then we learned at the end, oh no, actually this was the real deal, and if he died he would have died. It's like it was like it kind of hit me at the end. Like I feel like that should have had a much bigger impact, but I was too emotionally distraught to realize it.
Yeah, I was distraught at this moment, but it was established that it's a safe net that you will restart. But no, it's finished.
It's crazy. And then what did you think about the because someone earlier said that there's some people don't like the ending of Alternative. Like what do you think about the ending of Alternative and like the I don't want to call it the superior timeline, but like kind of is the constructed perfect timeline in a way?
I think in Takeru I've faced too much suffering in the Unlimited timeline and the alternative timeline to have peace now. He deserved it.
Yeah, he did. They all deserved it. I think that I agree with you 100% on that. That's for sure. That like it's a good ending, and they needed it. So I'm very grateful that we got to see that.
It's true. It's sad that he will not stay and fight, but at the same time, he needed to continue his life.
And in a way, like if you think about it, he kind of already did. Like, true that world's version of Takeru died defending Sumika in a hive and effectively didn't do anything that would save the world. But he did fight and die in that world already. He was kind of borrowed anyway. So I kind of think it was very fitting that he go. I liked how valiantly he wanted to stay and fight, and it just seemed very much like him at the end.
Yeah.
But I also do think that it's very right. Like the ending was good, and I think it was right to take him away because when all was said and done and the causality was put back into its place, he had already suffered. He had already fought the fight in that dimension.
It was enough for him for now. Personally, I wanted to continue the fight, but when she said Kasumi that it was over, I was 100%, 100, sorry, okay with that.
Yeah. The one thing I do want to know, and I'm guessing it's covered somewhere, but I'd love to see what happened after Takaru left. Like, do the humans actually fight off the beta? Do they contact the creators? And do they find out what happens in the future? And if they do kick the beta off, did they try and engage them on the moon and Mars, or did it just G-bomb the crap out of them since there's no life on those planets? Like, I want to know all that stuff, but I'm also scared because, I know if I go to the wiki, I could probably find out. But if there's a way I can experience it through a greater storytelling than just looking stuff up, I'd rather wait and just see if there's a game or an anime that covers it better.
I do not know, actually, but for what I think, it will be first a problem between human race.
Yeah. And in America, because they're just complete douches the whole time. Oh, the story made me almost ashamed. I was just like, gosh darn it. Because I have to admit, in that situation, I wouldn't be surprised if America ended up doing exactly that. But still, it's just come on, guys, don't just use everyone else's pain and destruction to your advantage. That's just that's frustrating.
Yeah, but they're not wrong in a way because it's the only real power they have, the J-bomb.
Yeah, unfortunately, it's true.
And they want to bring a end of the suffering in a way.
Yeah, it's when you take the brutal truth, so it's very true. And G-bombing may have doomed the majority of the planet to not being habitable, but if part of that planet still was, then it'd probably be okay in the end. But yeah, I don't know. It's just one of those disappointing ones because it's me. I was I know we're jerks, but it's hard to kind of be confronted with jerks like that, especially the coup, man.
The coup was in the story the moment the more impactful between each character.
Yeah. It was I love how this game has so many moments where it's just you're experiencing the story and you're listening to the characters and you're it can't get more real than this. This is so crazy. And then the next thing you know, it's oh nope, it's completely outdone now. Because when the coup was happening, I was it was the most riveting thing I'd ever experienced. And story wise, I was so glued to what was happening. But then the Christmas invasion, and that was even more so. And then Operation Cherry Blossom, I was about to have a heart attack from how crazy that was getting. It's so well done. I only have praise for this storyline. The trouble thing is if I try and explain to people you really need to play this game, I have to convince them to finish Extra because for some people Extra can be a little too almost flippant. It's almost too slice of lifey. Some people just don't like the slice of life genre. I'm no, I promise, giant robots are coming. Please just keep reading.
For me, I play Muv-Luv for Extra.
Oh, really?
I didn't know that Unlimited or Alternative was a thing at the time, and I like slice of time time. Mm-hmm. So I liked it. For me, it was good, and it was a real shock in Unlimited.
Yeah, I think you and I are the same way because I just saw some screenshots and the screenshots were all from Extra, and I was just I like slice of life anime. I'll play this game. I had no clue what I was getting into.
Yeah, real fun. And when she tell you you cause the story of this world, it's hard to take.
It's there's so much to it, and that's actually something I want to play with. Like, it's worth mentioning. It's been brought up in the Discord before, but there's an actual like tabletop RPG that's something that people put together for Muv-Luv, and I'm an RPG fan. Like, I played Dungeons and Dragons and what's it called? Not Shadow Rend. That's a book. I don't know. I played some tabletop RPGs, and I like them, and so I've got to get my hands on that sometime. But when someone brought it up, and I was like, I have to have this. They were saying like, yeah, the Muv-Luv writers, they're like, there's so much to explore in this universe. Everyone should be writing their own stories in a way. Like, you should feel like you can insert almost like imagine your own tales and characters, and just kind of let yourself feel like a part of this universe. And that might be the best part. It's not.
It will be really hard to do your part in the world.
Oh, fetch! I would have died instantly. I probably would have died just seeing a beta running at me. I'd just be like, "No, I'm piecing out of this."
Yeah, I'm out.
Bye, guys. Have fun. Oh man, because the beta are so freaking scary.
It's what Marimo did in this first battle.
Oh, wasn't really her choice though.
She have no choice.
Yeah, fair point, then. All right, well, we're getting close to the wrap-up time, so I just want to know, is there anything in particular you want to say about the game, or about the playthrough, or about just your feelings in general?
For the playthrough, I really like it that you show true feeling about it.
It's one of my gifts. I'm very empathetic and a very expressive person. You put those together, and yeah, I'm grateful. It's one of the things that I think I'm very happy with of why I'm doing this channel, is being able to be like honest. I'm genuinely feeling those emotions. I'm not having to put on an act, because stories affect me, and I'm glad that I get to share that, and I'm glad that resonates. Like, I had no clue if anyone would actually watch my stuff when I started uploading, and so I'm grateful to you guys that are enjoying it. I'm glad that you found me, and I'm glad that you've been giving me insight and spending the time with me and letting me share this with you guys, because I've said this so many times, but it's so true. I started the channel because I had fallen in love with visual novels. Like, I just started and just barely discovered them, and I had no one to talk to about them. Like, nobody I knew in any circle of friends or anything. Just all of it was just me, and I was like, you know what, maybe there's someone out there who would like to sit with me and talk about this, and you guys did, and we're doing it now. It's so cool. So thank you so much for taking the time.
It's coming only on Steam right now.
Yeah,
And before it was really small.
it was like it's growing, and who knows, like, it'll never be like make a career out of it big, but who knows, maybe. I'm hoping that not only will I be able to see a growth in people who I can talk to about visual novels, I'm hoping that we're going to be at the beginning of maybe another renaissance of visual novels, because a lot of Western companies are starting to try and make visual novel content. We're starting to see more money making it to the Japanese market when it comes to anime, manga, and I'm hoping the visual novels will also start seeing an increase. So perhaps we'll be able to see more. I don't know, but I can hope and I can dream.
The community is a little balance on the subject. For me and my community, if I say so, we are not okay with censor and the age visual novel.
Yeah.
But at the same time, if Muv-Luv was not censored, we will not be here. Okay.
No, exactly. It's amazing how stories can bring people together, and from so many places. Like, so many of you are from like other countries and cultures and places I've never ever experienced, and who knows, I might never have a chance to, although I'd love to. I love traveling and that kind of stuff, but you know, I get to connect with you guys, and that's something that's so cool and so personal for me. And so I'm I'm honored to have you guys around here. So thank you so much for being a part of that community and joining me tonight.
I'm a little exhausted.
Yeah, okay, I'll let you go. Thank you so much for joining us. You have a good evening, and I'll see you around.
Okay, you too. Thanks.
Bye. Seriously. Oh, you guys are awesome. Thank you so much. So in the chat, I've been following stuff. Yeah, you guys are talking about my effective non-flashbacks and everything. Oh, man. I bet you guys... I do want to say this real quick. I bet you one of the best parts about this whole, like, playing the game and watching me play the game is you guys watching me march towards things like, you know, Christmas Invasion, Operation Cherry Blossom, knowing what's about to come, and just knowing, like, how horrible it was going to be for me. I bet you guys really like that. And then also, then Inez, I noticed you said that, so, like, you found me because of the ending of Unlimited. I guess if there's one place you're gonna jump in and see what this channel's got to offer, that's the place. So you may bawl like a baby. Okay, so we only have one more guest scheduled. Hopefully he's still conscious. I know he's probably tired, but let's get him in, and then we'll wrap up, because this has been going on for a long time. But hey, we're just trying to do it justice, and I'm grateful that we've been able to have so many people in here. All right. So I guess what name should we go by for you? If you're there. Oh, here you are.
Oh, yeah. I am here. Shit, you scared me.
Sorry about that. I tried to give a wind-up into the show, but oh yeah, it's a delay. So I gave a good wind-up saying you're going to be joining me, but you didn't get to hear that. I'm sorry.
Oh, man, I'm zoned out. Is there a delay?
There's a little bit. There's like a 30-second delay. It's just the nature of streaming. I could, if I had a more powerful computer, I could shorten the delay. But I'd rather make this stream.
I thought you meant there was like an audio delay. Like there's no delay. Is my audio good?
Oh no, you sound fine. I was talking about like the live stream portion of it. Like you and me chatting right now, we're crystal clear.
Oh, okay, sweet. Ooh.
All right, so thank you. So I'm glad that you're still willing to join us after your work sounded like it got a little crazy towards the end.
What's that? Sorry?
I was saying, like, thank you for joining me. I know it sounded like you got pretty busy towards the end of this evening, so I'm glad you were able to stick it out and still come on with us.
I don't know. That's fine.
That's good. Do I need to be louder or anything? Like, am I sounding clear for you?
I don't know. Sounds good.
Perfect. Okay. So, you mentioned that you were interested in talking about the world building and overall design philosophy, like how TSS were conceived and why the beta designs work the way they do. So is there anything in particular that like you really want to make sure we touch on?
Did I say that?
Oh, I thought so. You're listed in here as that.
I think I'm last, so I don't. No matter what I talk about, I don't think I'll be stealing anyone's thunder, right?
Yeah, no, you're good in that regard. So like, just go, say whatever you want to say.
Before that, I want to ask. After all the dust has settled, and I think we finished the novel around about the same time.
Oh, really?
I think we finished it literally on the same day, which is a funny coincidence.
That's impressive.
What do you think of it now that you've had time to reflect on it? What did you? How would you rate it compared to something like?
Something like
Steins Gate. Sorry, did I cut out for a second?
It did cut out there, so I was just waiting for it. Oh gosh. Steins Gate and Muv-Luv are funny because, like, while they're very similar in genre, they almost feel like apples and oranges because, like, they have such different approaches. But I think I have to give Muv-Luv the advantage here. I don't know if it's just the length and the way that I got to get to know the characters. I don't know if it's about like they both made me very emotional, and I felt very strongly attached to both series and both sets of characters. But I feel like I really got to understand on a fundamental level the characters in Muv-Luv. Helped to have 3 games worth of content with them. Where Steins Gate, I felt like I got to know the characters as I got to understand their sorrow. Ferris is a perfect example, where at first she came off really cringy, but then as I got to know her as we covered her arc, I really fell for the character because there's so much more to her. And I really respected like what her wish was, and it really touched me. and just who she was and how vulnerable she turned out to be. So as a character, she really did a 180 on me, and by the end, like, she was one of the most painful ones I had to choose the alternative path for in the game. But I only really got to know that character over the course of like 1 or 2 episodes, like maybe like 2 hours worth of content. Where Muv-Luv, I've gotten to know like Maya, Sumika, Class Rep, Yamane, Tama, and Makoto over 3 games, and each time I felt like I learned new stuff. And so it's
that's such a good point. I feel like the medium, in comparison to something like a film or even an anime or something, really in a shorter format, like you can bond with the characters in a way that it's just not possible to in something that's shorter. I wonder if complain about the length of Muv-Luv, but I wonder if it's actually kind of one of its, in a way.
I think it is. I think it really is a strength because, like, a good thing is like visual novels really cross into this territory where they're really competing with novels. Like, at least the higher tier ones, like Steins Gate and Muv-Luv for sure, they really are on par with a novel rather than a manga or an anime. But you, at the same time, get the enhanced experience of the visual cues and effects. So you have the writing of a novel, but the visual representation of a manga or an anime. And you get that kind of best of both worlds feel, where you can instantly recognize a character based on their mannerisms and their looks, but you also fundamentally get to understand them as a character, much like a novel. Like, I bring up every once in a while, like, one of my favorite authors right now is Brandon Sanderson, and part of his strength is being able to make relatable, believable characters. But Muv-Luv achieved that same thing. Despite the fact that a lot of characters can feel a cliche when you first meet them, there was so much to them that they really genuinely felt like people.
Yeah, I'm right there with you with Brandon Sanderson. He's definitely good.
He's a gem.
Yeah, I feel like the visual novel medium just has so much potential, because like you'll never be able to have a 60-hour movie because, I mean, like the budget would never exist. But
yeah,
with a novel, you're lacking that. What it has in time, it lacks in the visual and sound department, which I think is a big part of get invested in a story is how immersed you are.
Oh yeah, no, that's one of the biggest failings of books, in my opinion, and I have to try and amend it sometimes, is the lack of music. Like, there are so many scenes in a book where I'm reading the book or listening to an audiobook, and I'm like, this needs a freaking like score. Like, I can think of music all right now that would be such a perfect fit, and it's like it needs it so desperately. But like, in a visual novel, you can get that. Like, there's so many powerful moments in Muv-Luv with the music. Like, heck, I still love, like, we're gonna listen to it before we end the stream. Like it's like the intro sequence. It was also what played when Takaru and the others are first descending into the original hive. Like, that score of music, it's amazing.
It really is, and like the climactic. Can we go into spoilers here?
Oh yeah, like if like it's pretty clear from the beginning. This is about like talking about like there's wait okay hang on. What spoilers though? Like, are they beyond like this series?
No, like, yeah, no, all to do with Muv-Luv.
Yeah, no, that's fine, as long as it's like extra to alternative.
I'll be
like,
spoiling. Yeah.
That's fine.
I won't be spoiling anything other than this series. But I just wanted to the final sequence where Takaru has to pull the trigger.
Oh my gosh.
Oh man, the music, I think, just hits you so hard. Like it makes that final sequence so much more impactful. It's brilliant.
That whole thing was like it for me. It was really interesting because it was so much. It was very Switch-like because like the dread was building up because I kind of was seeing where it was going and I knew what had to be done. But I was also getting pissed off because Takaru wasn't pulling that trigger, and I was like, "Pull the dang trigger, Takaru! You have to do this!" But then as soon as he did it, all the sorrow and all the pain of what was actually happening just hit me. And I was watching it back when I was doing the editing for the episode, and you can see it. You see me like I'm like clutching the table. I'm like, do it, and then he does it, and I'm just like, just lose it.
It's cathartic and tragic at the same time.
Oh, so freaking amazing. Like that doesn't get thing too. Is like so many emotions. Like you can't like there's like because it can go and explore so much aspects of the story. You don't just feel sad or frustrated or like anxious. It's like you feel all of them simultaneously.
Yeah, it's really good with playing with your emotion. But talking of the ending sequence that
Mm-hmm.
I wanted to bring up is the shonen anime trope where it all ends in a bit of an ass pull where everything is solved through the power of love.
Yeah.
Or the power of... Well, I love how in Muv-Luv it takes a lot of these standard, like the harem, the power of friendship, the chosen one, and shows that in a real circumstance, those would not actually be very desirable at all.
Yeah.
The best example of that is the very end where everything is kind of solved through the power of love. The most horrible, tragic way possible. Like the ending sequence is basically just one giant confession scene. Most hype confession scene ever conceived, but like I think it's quite clever the way you know how it's a pretty major theme. What motivates people to fight in adversity in the most desperate circumstances.
Yeah. It's such a complex question to answer for anything.
Yeah, well, I think a big part of the development of Tucker's character is real. He starts off alternative, with the goal of saving humanity, but I think by the end of the novel he realizes that it's too abstract a concept for our primate brain to really understand. Really, the only way you could ever sacrifice yourself or be a hero like that is to just fight for what's in front of you, which is what happens in the end for everyone, even Maya in the end.
Mm-hmm. No, there's a lot. There's a lot of cleverness in the writing that makes you just like to think, or like there were those cruel ironies. Like I mentioned this before, but like it really was kind of a cruel irony where, like we were so worried with what Tsukuyomi said about like Maya and like how because she was no longer going to be the like fallback shogun protectorate, that she might have lost her purpose and that she might be willing to like throw her life away in an attempt to like find meaning. And I was really worried about that too, because it did seem like something to be concerned about. And yet she never did. She was always willing to like to strive to survive. And then in the end, when the girls kind of all, without even talking to each other, decided that they were going to make sure to do whatever it took to make sure Gitaku made it and survived and had a chance of defeating the beta, how in the time when they're literally laying down their lives, she was the last one. Like you never would have expected that. Like she kind of had to watch everyone else make the sacrifice that she had always like imagined herself making someday. And like she eventually did have to, but she didn't even get the chance to like go out on her own terms. She just had to trust Takuru to do the right thing. And this is I think that is a definition of a cruel irony, because it wasn't at all what I expected was going to happen.
Yeah, I it was like Takuru said, it was a possibility, but I was kind of hoping that it wouldn't happen.
Yeah.
But have been a dude.
Do what?
I think with I wish Makoto could have been a dude in
Oh.
the in Alternative Unlimited. 'Cause I feel like through what it would have made it a bit less, yes,
A little bit less harem.
I think with what the author was trying to do, was trying to say, I think there was room for some platonic love or even homosexual love.
Oh, so you wanted that to be a bigger option of exploration?
Yeah, I felt like it would have been a stronger message, perhaps, if or a more clear message, if but you know, whatever.
It's interesting because like there's two sides to this that I agree to, because I do agree like I'm a huge proponent of inclusion and diversity. Like it needs to be something that's explored more in media. It needs to be something that we're not ashamed of, but it's also not something that we overdo and sometimes they go to the point where it's like, oh, we want to check the box off. We want to have the bi, we want to have the gay, we want to have the black man, we want to have the Asian. That's wrong too. Like it needs to be matching the story.
It very much feels like the box was checked. Like it has to be a harem.
Yeah.
The box was.
I think it could have been better, but at the same time, it also there's a mentality. This is something that happened. I'm a fan of Persona 5, and there was a lot of criticism about how Joker, the main character, could not initiate a relationship with the male companions like Ryuji and Ryusuke. And there were the people who they were like, come on, there's even like chemistry there. Like, why can't we do that? And like the person who was the main writer of Persona 5, he kind of came up and he said like, look, I don't have a problem with people who have diverse loves and diverse feelings, but the character that was written was straight, and that was something I was going to stick with, because he said that like it's one thing to be inclusionary, but it's another thing to warp character perceptions in order to allow for specific tastes. But that's not really the case here. I think Makoto could have easily been a male character through the whole thing and still could have had a very strong love for Takaru, even if Takaru never reciprocated. It still could have been a very powerful statement.
I think laying down your life for a friend is just as real and
just
as powerful as
it's the epitome.
Life for a lover.
Like, I mean, like, I'm not sure how religious anybody here is, but like, there is that scripture, and I think it powerfully says like, no greater love hath no man than this, than he layeth down his life for his friends. One of those few teachings where I'm like, unilaterally, it's like, I think we can all agree that that's at least kind of like a statement that we can all get behind. Like, there really is no better love, I think, than being willing to put down your life to save somebody else. Like, there's something powerful about that choice, and scary. Something that's why it's fun to explore it in a game like Muv-Luv, because like, how many of us are realistically going to have to face a choice like that?
Yeah, yeah. It's impossible to know how you would. To something like that. I think that's one of the reasons why the PTSD art works so well is because you have family members and stuff, right, that have served in the military or are serving.
My dad he does a lot of work with he does work with departments and consulting. And he's gotten to know very personally throughout my life. I've even gotten to know some personally, like some of the people who are not just in the military, but in often special forces groups. So like, kind of like the Valkyries. Like, I've gotten to know some people who never will be we'll never know the kind of work that they do. We'll never know the sacrifices that they've made because they're of the nature of the work of their job. And so yeah, I've kind of seen that. But then again, like, I'm not the one out there laying down my life.
Yeah, I have family who are serving at the moment in dangerous situations, and it's kind of impossible for it's impossible for me to. I've tried to understand what they're going for, what they're going through. It's kind of ironic, I think, that the best example of PTSD that I've seen isn't in war films or or anything like that, but in a dating sim slash sci-fi. Okay.
Not really what you expect. No, but
yeah, but I wonder how much of that how much of that is owed to the tone shift. Steins Gate actually does a similar a lot of stories do the same thing. I don't think there's any story that more of a contrast in tone than Muv-Luv that I can think of.
Yeah, it's hard to go from the goofy slice of life harem to the death-defying, we're all gonna die and everything sucks mecha universe. Like, there's really, like, it almost feels like those two genres are like on opposite ends of the spectrum, and so it is really interesting to see that in contrast.
It kind of, this is pretty abstract, but it's something that I see in all kinds of communication, that good visual art, good music, good anything, all has to do with contrast.
Mm-hmm.
But this is kind of an abstract point, but I think it's used a lot in storytelling, and it's not something that's brought up very much. Is contrast used to what's the word I'm looking for?
Maybe to develop.
Yeah, you know what I mean. To magnify.
That's a good one.
Like in Steins Gate or in Muv-Luv, where it lulls you into a false sense of security at the start, and then
rips it all away from you.
Rips your heart out.
Yeah, repeatedly. By the way, I say that I think Muv-Luv is above Steins Gate. We're talking like the top tiers, by the way. Like, Steins Gate and Muv-Luv are both some of the best stories I've ever read. And they are very similar in their just how good they are. But no, I think contrast is, you're exactly right. As a matter of fact, it's a very strong concept in cooking. My wife loves to cook, and we watch cooking shows all the time. And they say again and again on shows like Top Chef and Iron Chef and those types of things, they say, like, the key is balancing contrasting flavors. Like, it's not consider most, like, if you want to have a really amazing experience with food, you don't just have something that's really, really sweet. You could put as much sweet and sugar as you want. If anything, that just makes it start tasting worse. But when you contrast it with having some citrus and or like you have sweet and salt, or you have savory and citrus, and you mix those together, the contrast is what brings out the best parts of both. And I think that you're exactly right when you describe Muv-Luv as having the contrast and how that's so important. If we hadn't fallen in love, sorry, God.
I was just gonna say, yeah, it's dialed up to 1,000,000.
Yeah, well, yeah, freaking.
Like, it's like eating I don't know, like the sourest thing you could, or the saltiest thing you could possibly think of.
Literally salt.
The sweetest thing. Yeah, or the other way around. Actually, it's the sweetest thing followed by
saltiest. Yeah, I don't know. I think
metaphorically and literally.
Yes. And I think what we're talking about ultimately is, like, when you have the journey, when you fall in love with the characters in Extra, when it's so relatable in a way, but also so, like, anime, or so visual novel. Like, it's so, like, it's just so much what you would kind of expect. And then to transition into the other universe, you still harbor those feelings that you got from Extra. And then you add the pressure. If we'd had a game that started in Limited, where we met the characters in Limited and met the characters in that universe, even if Takaru was this lost soul, like, who had been isekai'd into the whole story, it really wouldn't have that impact.
Imagine the PTSD arc without Extra.
Oh.
That's what because I've got to be honest, I did not like Extra at all. But when I thought back on it, I thought, imagine if when class rep Takaru to stop bothering people,
mm-hmm.
He flips out, and if that happened during Extra, no big deal. But after having seen, where he came from and where he's ended up, see, I just felt bad for him.
Yeah.
Like, I kind of had the same reaction. Like, how dare you look down on this poor broken kid with several universes lumped on his back?
I know, right? Jeez.
Yeah.
Well, he's a
What's
freaking
gonna
hero just for not dying from shock every time he got reborn.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, it's amazing, and
But of course, nobody has.
yeah. All right, well, we got to start wrapping up. I've been doing this for a while, but I've loved hearing your comments. Is there anything in particular you want to like end on, or a point you want to make sure that we make, especially because we're wrapping up pretty soon? Like, is there something we really want to say?
Oh yeah, of course. Best girl is
Careful.
Kyosuka,
Wait, who?
the chef lady.
Oh, Kyosuka! We need a Kyosuka romance arc
Nobody
immediately. I love it. Oh, that's awesome. Thank you so much for joining me tonight. And thank you for joining me for the experience of playing Muv-Luv.
Oh, thank you. It was I think everyone who's seen it or is going to see it is appreciative of how into the stories you got.
It's just me being honest. Like if you could see me, I'm the kind of person who could be sitting by myself watching a movie and I will yell at the characters of the TV. I have to hold myself back so bad in like when I'm at a movie theater watching something I really want to like. I'm really excited to see. I have to bite my tongue because like I'm that person, and so it almost seemed natural to just put the camera in front of me and just then do that because it's just so much me. But I'm glad that people actually like that.
Honestly, that is actually a gift. Not everyone can act naturally in front of a camera, so.
Yeah, I'm an honest person. I could never overplay that stuff. Like I could never be one of those YouTubers just like screaming and going crazy, like overhyping. Like I'll just be me. But for visual novels,
The opposite.
Yeah, what? I'm the opposite.
The
Yeah.
opposite. A lot of people, I think myself included, would just not be able to act naturally.
Maybe.
Probably,
I know it's not everybody's thing,
Yeah.
but you'd be surprised. Like after a little while, it gets easy. Like it gets a lot easier. But so if you ever wanted to try it, I say try it and just see how it goes. But yeah, it's definitely not for everybody.
And also your rants never stop.
Yay! Those are the best things. Like I do generally sometimes feel guilty when I go so long. It's like half the episode. It's like, ooh.
No.
Well, I'll make sure to keep it up. So thank you so much for joining me. Oh, and one last thing: is there anything you want to plug, like a Twitter or a YouTube channel or anything that, like, if anyone's listening that might be interested in hearing more of your thoughts, they could go to?
Oh no. It's all good.
Sounds good, man. Thank you so much for joining me tonight, and
Go back to working.
oh yeah, good luck, man. I'll see you around.
Thanks. Take it easy, man.
Thank you. Bye. All right. Well, we've pretty much come to the ending. There's really not much more for me to say. Do stick around. I do want to play the intro with the music again. I'll play it like at full volume so we can just kind of like bask in its awesomeness before we close. But I feel like we've been able to talk about this series a lot. And if you're watching this from the future, thank you for joining us for the wrap party. Know that these feelings are very much real. There's no hyperbole. There's no exaggeration when I say that Muv-Luv might be one of the greatest treasures of our time. I think it helps bridge understanding and concepts we can never really work with in real life. Many of us aren't ever going to experience PTSD. Many of us aren't going to experience repeated loss. Not many of us are going to have to watch our friends die or actively put them in situations in which they die. And yet, books and visual novels and TV shows and movies, the gifts that they give us isn't really ultimately entertainment. The gift they give us is the opportunity to simulate experiences we never could have. So whether that be a dating sim that lets you pretend like you can date different people, whether that be a narrative that takes you into worlds far, far away, whether that be simply a feel-good story that helps you contemplate the meaning of life, these things are real and important for us, despite the fact that they are fictional, despite how strange they are. And that's what makes it so precious. This series is going to be on my channel for the rest of time. I've even been working on backing it up. So if something were to happen catastrophically to my channel, I'd want to be able to still like share it somewhere. Because at the very least, I think that this is a journey that I want to share with people in the future because of just how amazing it was. So thank you so much for being here. I'm hoping that anybody who's been here and seen this whole series has been able to play this themselves and kind of share the experience with me. Remember, this is more like a literature club than it is just a straight-up gaming channel. We're supposed to share these moments and express our feelings and reminisce about the times when we played through ourselves. So thank you, one and all, for being a part of this series and being a part of something so meaningful in my own life. We're going to cover more visual novels in the future. I hope we can find other gems like Muv-Luv and Steins Gate that can continue to make us question things that we've never experienced before and can continue to challenge what we think is possible through storytelling. And I also really hope that those of you who are out there who harbor a desire to write and to make stories, hopefully some of us will someday craft the stories of tomorrow. That someday we'll be able to, I'm going to pause this real quick, that we'll be able to create our own Muv-Luv, in quotes. That we'll be able to change lives by sharing a story that's powerful. And I look forward to seeing as many of you are willing to stick around with me through the channel. Maybe I can help recommend titles for you to explore. Maybe you can just show up for the ones that you've already read. Regardless, I'm very happy to have you here, every single one of you. It makes my day every time somebody comes around and shares a message or shares a story with me. And the fact that you guys are here watching now, and to those of you who are watching in the future who couldn't catch it live, you guys are awesome. I say it all the time, but I mean it every single time. I'm one of the luckiest people in the world because of this channel, and I don't think I'll ever stop. If I could ever help it, I don't want to ever stop. So thank you for being here. Thank you for being awesome. And until the next video you watch with me, or whatever, see me in next. See you there.
Tokyo 公園その名前を胸に刻もう